Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another installment of now what we're calling ISV Success Live. For those of you who didn't realize at the beginning of the fiscal year, the ISV Connect Biz Apps program actually merged and consolidated into our core ISV Success. So don't be alarmed. You're actually on the right show where we're still talking about business application ISVs and the amazing innovation and what they do. So before we get to Five9 and Brandon, let me give you a quick orientation of what the purpose of this show is and how you can get involved and how you can learn more. So we do these every Monday at 8 o'clock, really to showcase and highlight the amazing ISV ecosystem we have at Microsoft. And there are so many great ISVs like Five9 that are adding so much value to our joint customers and to people who are trying to drive better business outcomes with whatever scenario you're thinking about, because Microsoft can't do it alone. We have an amazing and very broad ecosystem of various partner types, and ISVs are an amazing portion of that. So as we get started, we'd love to hear where you're watching from. So if you're watching from somewhere in the US, like Brandon's actually taking this from Utah, I'm actually based in Seattle. If you're anywhere in the US, anywhere in Europe, anywhere in Asia, thank you for making the time to listen and learn a little bit more about Five9 and what they do with the Microsoft ecosystem. The second is, if there's actually a question you want to ask, feel free to put that in the LinkedIn window. And if there's time at the end, I'm happy to ask Brandon a real-time question from people potentially watching so that you can get a real-time answer to your specific question. And then during the event, if there's content that's resonating with you, feel free to utilize one of the emoji icons, because that gives us validation that the information is relevant and is driving value to the conversation. So without further ado, Brandon, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for making the time. And when we get started, it's always for people to get to know you. What's your specific role at Five9? And of course, a nice icebreaking question I always use is, what's one thing not on your LinkedIn profile that you're open to sharing so people get to know you?
Sure. Well, again, thank you very much. Brandon Viamonte, I'm with Five9. I manage the Microsoft relationship with Five9. So that means, all of the internal enablement of our teams, internal of how we work with Microsoft as a partner. But then that also transitions into, working with our partners that are invested in Microsoft technologies that are also leading the customer experience contact center solutions with Five9. So it's a really fun role. It's a very broad role, and it's one that definitely keeps me very busy working with so many great and amazing people within this Microsoft ecosystem.
I love it, Brandon. And what's one thing not on your LinkedIn profile that you're open to sharing?
So this was when you kind of made me think about this originally. I started laughing. So one thing that I ran this by my wife, and I said, well, we can either maybe say this or that, say that. So my wife actually picked this. So back in grade school, so 1st through 6th grade, my parents put me into a lottery system to go to an arts and music school. I actually got accepted. So instead of going to a traditional, the school down the street from your house and, 1st through 6th grade, I went to an arts and music school where they taught us to, every day you had 1 hour of art and 1 hour of music. There I learned to play, violin, cello, did a lot of art. We learned how to use a potter's wheel for ceramics and, clay pottery. But the one thing that came out of that not a lot of people know about was I ended up being the bass player, or one of 2 bass players in a Mexican mariachi band when I was in 6th grade. Yeah. So I think, most people when they're checking this out, looking at me, they're going, I would have never pegged you for a mariachi band guy. But no, I played in that for a little bit, played concerts, played some retirement homes, played at our school, had a little bit of fun with that. It was a really great experience. I really enjoyed it. And it's something that I look back at, over 30 years later going, well, that was a lot of fun. And that was definitely something very different.
I love it, Brandon. Well, I assume that you're not playing any mariachi band, or are you still doing something like that? Are you like a guest person?
No more mariachi band. I do expose the mariachi music to my children because I actually have an amazing affinity and love for music. So I show them classical, rock and roll, and occasionally I'll throw on a little mariachi mix for them. And my daughter, every time I play that, gets excited and goes, I love this, and starts dancing.
I love it. Oh, I love it, Brandon. Well, if we had cell phone cameras back in the day, that would be an amazing. If someone has a sneak peek of you actually as a in 6th grade wearing the mariachi suit playing a bass. That would be pretty funny.
There is a picture. It's in a box somewhere in my house. I know that when I was getting married, my wife went to my parents like, "Hey, can you throw something out there? Some really fun pics to, for the wedding." And I think the picture of me in the mariachi band is in there somewhere. So
I love
it exists.
I love it. I love it, Brandon. Well, thank you for sharing that personal story. It's so great to kind of get to know people a little bit better because we've known each other for the few years of driving the conversations of the value that Five9 brings, and it's great to get to know a little bit more about you through this scenario. So before we get started, let me do a quick shout out and thank you all for watching. Virginia, watching from Santa Cruz, actually one of my favorite places in the Bay Area. For those of you who've never been there before, it is just southwest of San Francisco, and it's a beautiful coastal city in California. Chloe from Seattle, so thank you so much. Yes, it is sunny. It's good to see. We did have a little bit of rain last week, which was good, but it's back to the sun again. So thank you. John from Cincinnati, so thank you for making the time. Luz from Seattle as well, and then we have one more, Tamia. So thank you so much. So to get started, Brandon, why don't you give everyone, we kind of gave away a little bit of what Five9 does and referenced you mentioned a few things on contact center, but maybe you go a little bit deeper on what are the business outcomes that Five9 helps to solve in partnership with Microsoft?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and I want to preface the the conversation in terms of the business outcomes that Five9 is driving with Microsoft. Is that Microsoft is a very unique partner to Five9, and I think in the ecosystem, especially around customer experience. So to first define customer experience, Five9 is what we would call a legacy contact center partner. Obviously, there's nothing legacy about us. We are, very progressive in terms of the solutions that we are driving globally with our cloud contact center. But we were one of the first pure cloud contact centers to enter the market over 20 years ago. And what we are really here to do is help organizations do a couple of things. First and foremost, create joy around the customer experience. And after watching Microsoft Inspire last week, I think our marketing teams at both Five9 and Microsoft are hanging out at the same coffee shop, because a couple of months ago when we were defining who we were and what we were going to do as an organization, our executive team came out and said, this is a bold statement, but we want to bring joy to customer experience, because so many people think that when you are having some sort of an experience with a business, traditionally it's something negative or it's something that you're trying to solve for. So if we can bring joy to that experience and really simplify that and make it a non-horrible idea to think about, that's really what Five9 is doing. And from within that customer experience, we're really looking at it from 3 different points of view as we're trying to really drive those business outcomes. So one, we look at the customer experience, the actual customer themselves. How is a customer communicating with an organization? And how does an organization identify who that customer is to really personalize and drive experiences that make sense for that person? The second element of how we are driving amazing and joy to customer experiences is with the agent experience. Last couple of weeks ago, our leader in the partner group here at Five9, Jake Butterball, was speaking and doing a presentation with Accenture. And Accenture did an amazing job of laying out how the customer is the sole focus of organizations these days, that everything is not around necessarily driving sales, but it's driving the customer experience. Because we think some years ago, a lot of organizations, a lot of budget went into marketing. How are we driving? How are we bringing in new customers? How are we, really identifying with who they are? But what they're starting to find out is with the 24-hour news cycle, with how, people are today, to move to another business after being acquired by as a customer, people are very finicky and willing to move. So making sure that we are creating a digital experience in the contact center that really focuses on the customer is very important. And giving the agent the tools to know who that person is, giving them insights into why they might be calling or what the journey that customer's had with the customer is very important. Because the other thing that I think that is really important from an outcome standpoint is employee satisfaction. And Five9 offers the tools around workforce engagement and all of the tools to make sure that agents are ably supported in creating experiences, because churn is hard. agents don't necessarily have the easiest lives, because as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the times they are taking challenges from customers. But a lot of things that I don't think a lot of businesses think about when it comes to and outcomes is simplifying and giving self-service options for customers. And what I mean by that is Five9 also offers an intelligent virtual agents through our cloud platform, and that's doing a couple of different things to continuously drive a positive and joy to the customer experience. One is it's allowing customers to quickly and easily get answers to information that doesn't necessarily require a person to respond. So, for example, hey, what time is my flight? Did my flight time change? Is there a delay in my flight? We can answer those questions through our virtual agents without necessarily having to get to an agent. It also makes that that experience very fast. So we're making the customer happier because they quickly got the answer, and they didn't necessarily have to wait very long. But what that also does is has an impact on the contact center agent, and the impact that it has is it's not inundating that person sitting there taking questions, just mundane questions all day, every day. So as we are giving the agent more insight into who the customer is and why they're calling and how they can help them, they're also making sure that the agents that are taking the calls are using their brains, and they're not necessarily just answering the same questions over and over again. So those are the first two components. We're focusing on how a customer is communicating with an organization and doing it from a digital standpoint, because one of the challenges we're also seeing out there is organizations that are still on legacy premises solutions or haven't necessarily been able to tackle the challenge of how they can drive amazing customer experiences for their own. So we're not just tackling the customer experience and the agent experience, we're also helping that transition to cloud to kind of simplify and democratize some of the core workloads that can come from a modern cloud contact center like a Five9. And then the last component that we're really doing to make sure that we're driving amazing and joyful customer experiences is we're helping provide the data to organizations to make them successful. Because too many organizations, their data is in different places. They don't necessarily know how to leverage it. Five9, just like Microsoft, is an extensible platform. We allow the information that is being driven from all of the different experiences that agents are our agents and customers are creating when they're communicating with each other. And we're embedding that in tools like Microsoft Dynamics. We're also, embedding that if the customer has a data strategy where they're, importing all their data into a data lake in Azure, we're also being able to connect and empower that data lake to have more information. So as the organization is looking at, cross-functional analytics around all of the different platforms that they're using internally, Five9 is also helping power that. So as the customer experience and as an organization gathers more data around how the customer is interacting with the organization, the business has the data to pivot and make that very successful.
Yeah, Brandon, gosh, well said. I love how you anchored on joy around the customer experience, because we've all had, each of us probably have a story on our customer experience across many different things. Whether you've bought something online and there's a challenge with it, or my favorite one is we've all traveled. You're like trying to get on and get with an agent to either rebook or determine how resolution to a lost bag or a damaged bag or whatever it may be. And the scenarios of the experience, the customer experience, the agent experience, and then utilizing the data to harness that to determine how do you make that experience better, I think is such a great way that how you emphasize that across the board in partnership working with the Microsoft Cloud. And so before I get to the next question, let me do a quick shout out to a few more people who did denote where they're watching from. So Dennis, thank you for watching. I know it's super late in India, so thank you for making the time from India to watch. And then another person kind of close to Santa Cruz a little bit, but on the other side of the Bay Area, Jerry, thank you so much for watching from San Rafael, California. So the next question, Brandon, really is, what's the experience been like? Because Five9 has been part of the Microsoft ecosystem. That's how I've gotten to know you and others in your journey when Five9 made the decision to invest and build the IP relevant to taking advantage of the Microsoft Cloud. But that's one of the amazing things is that you as an ISV are not just thinking about dynamics. And of course, that's the sweet spot for where my team and my time is focused on. But you're thinking about what are the scenarios, and you touched about it a little bit, but the scenarios on the other portions of the Microsoft cloud, whether it be Teams, Azure. So maybe you could talk about what's that journey been like in partnering with Microsoft and taking advantage, because of course you sponsored different events recently. We just started a new fiscal year. So maybe you can comment a little bit about the partnership.
Yeah, the partnership, I mean, has evolved, significantly. A year ago we had a similar conversation. And when I take a look at where we were a year ago with our Teams integration, with our Dynamics integration, those were our two primary integrations. Obviously, customers could, leverage their Azure infrastructure, to integrate with Five9 for storage purposes, transcribing, and data. But back in January, Five9 announced at our internal sales kickoff that we were going to be incorporating ChatGPT, or the Azure version of ChatGPT, into our Agent Assist solution to help agents, more effectively and accurately summarize, the communications that they were having, with their customers. So the experience has been very positive, because when I look at the experience, it's really a couple of different things. And I think Microsoft does an absolutely fantastic job of doing this. So while we do work with, Microsoft Dynamics, and we have a CIF v1, CIF v2 integrations into Microsoft Dynamics to make, omni-channel and multi-threaded experiences for agents very productive and very easy to do. But we're also one of the inaugural Teams partners for contact centers. So we are also a Teams contact center. And really what the Teams contact centers, when we talk about outcomes, integrating Microsoft Teams into the agent experience from within Dynamics is really helping with first call resolution. Because today the experience is, in terms of who is dealing with customer experience, customers are calling in with very complex challenges. So the Microsoft ecosystem of applications is really empowering first call resolution by having an agent working within Dynamics where they can see all of the information and the relevant information that they need to service a potential customer. They have all of their communications channels and their ability to communicate with that customer from the Five9 application embedded into Microsoft Dynamics. But when the customer brings a complex multi-threaded challenge, for example, they need billing information, or they need some logistics information, Microsoft Teams integrated into Five9 is allowing the agent to go into what we call the back of the office, because Microsoft Teams to Microsoft is the front of the office, and we consider it the back of the office because we look at things from the point of view of the contact center. It allows the agents to see, one, who is available from, say, billing or from logistics, and two, be able to immediately bring them into a conversation to help solve customer challenges. And driving those outcomes of being able to solve challenges on the first try when you do need to communicate with a person is very important. So while AI is being incorporated into the contact center, and a couple of weeks ago, this is interesting, they came out with AI, and some people had this idea that AI was going to completely destroy the contact center and get rid of the idea of a contact center with artificial intelligence and automation. And we thought that was kind of very strange. And the reason we think that is our CEO Mike Birkland gave a great analogy. And he was stating how, the AI is kind of an engine to a plane. You would never build a plane simply with AI. But what you do need is Teams, you do need Dynamics, you do need Five9, and all of those different components are really bringing, kind of this plane together. So our investments have increased. Back in March, we did a great press release in terms of our channel integration framework initiative with Microsoft. Our integrations into Dynamics are continuing and going to continue to evolve as our customers evolve and need new products and services. We were also listed when Teams 2.0 came out. We were listed as a platform of choice with Microsoft. We're really excited. So now that we're integrating in ChatGPT, the first use case of that is really summaries and creating a simple experience for agents and transcriptions. But really, where that's going to go, it's to be determined, and the possibilities are truly endless.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Brandon, because for anyone who has listened to some of the sessions that came out earlier from Microsoft, generative AI is such a key component, and we believe that that's not only beneficial to customers, but the partner ecosystem, and you touched upon it, can truly take advantage of it, whether you're accessing ChatGPT through Azure OpenAI, or you're taking potentially a scenario with Copilot, one of the many different Copilot scenarios. And it's really great to hear that Five9 is evaluating and taking advantage of those use cases, because that's a disruption. There's going to be an opportunity. And I love how you said it, that AI is not necessarily going to replace the agent. It's more going to help the agent experience, really just to make sure that it's more seamless. It's digital. It's relying on all these data points to make the ability for them to resolve that customer situation and customer issue much more efficiently, because AI is helping that along with trying to provide certain types of things to surface up. So this takes us to the next, to second to the last question, one of my favorite ones, because of course you talked about that joy around the customer experience, but the proof is in the pudding in who's actually taking advantage of it, Brandon. So maybe you can talk a little bit with the 10 minutes we have left, and we'll save a few minutes at the end for just call to action and how people can learn more. But maybe you can spend a good few minutes talking about what are some of your favorite customer stories since the last time we had Five9, because some of those ones that were shared previously, I'm pretty confident there's even more now that you have come across that really have transformed, again, the joy of the customer experience around the different areas, the top 3 areas that you talked about. So maybe you can spend a few minutes on that.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to give 2 examples that are going to align with the financial services and insurance vertical at Microsoft, because we are seeing when I look at the let's say the core verticals that we're seeing a lot of business happening. It's financial services and insurance. We're seeing that in healthcare, retail, state, local, government. Very similar to what Microsoft announced at Inspire last week in terms of what those vertical markets are. But I'm going to give 2 different examples. Because one customer, one of the customers that went with Five9 was a banking institution that was geared towards serving 400,000 members, customers of their credit union. And what was really unique about this was how the digital transformation to cloud contact center with both Microsoft and Five9 truly changed how they were able to service their customers, but also the hard ROI that was generated from the services and the tools that we were able to bring together. And the reason I want to bring up hard ROI is, I've been working with Microsoft for a long time. And one of the things that we started talking about many years ago, over 12, 13 years ago, was transition to cloud. And I think sometimes we take for granted where organizations are in their journey to cloud. And sometimes I think we need to take a step back and make sure that we really are going back, understanding why haven't you transitioned to cloud? What were maybe some of the hesitations around that? And as we build that business case, listen to how they are doing business. And this credit union was an absolutely spectacular example of that. They had a legacy premises, PBX. They had Microsoft Dynamics. And what they really wanted to do is they wanted to leverage Dynamics much more efficiently, and then also really streamline costs that around their contact center, because their agents were becoming so inundated with communications and did not necessarily have the ability to take care of customers for the first call resolution or in a timely manner, that they were also outsourcing to a BPO, which was driving extraordinary cost. So Five9 came in with a solution that was going to do a few different things. One, it was going to embed Five9 into their Microsoft Dynamics investment, one of their first transitions to cloud, workloads that they transitioned to cloud. The second component of it was we incorporated our intelligent virtual agents and added some self-service banking app integrations into Fiserv, which was their banking application of choice. And then what we also were able to do was we added workforce engagement, workforce optimization software. So one of the things that we also offer is the ability for organizations to add a layer of software that can, one, make their employees more effective, but 2, make their employees happier in terms of how they are engaging with the organization when they're doing their job. So the ultimate outcome of this customer was they were able to do a full integration. They were able to significantly reduce their costs by offloading a lot of the communications that their customers were having with them to self-service, which had a positive impact on the customer's ability to work and get answers quickly, but it also reduced the workload on their agents, keeping them able to handle more challenging issues that their customers were having without having to go to a third party. So the return on investment was extraordinary, and the outcomes have been positive in terms of first call resolutions, customer happiness, agent happiness, but then also now they have information on how they can transition and pivot forward as they continue to go forward. But the next piece is while they're using Microsoft Dynamics, they're using Five9. the next thing is they're going to be transitioning to Teams telephony. And this overall experience of being able to not just transform the customer experience, but then incorporate that experience into the rest of the organization was very, very important for them. So this was a really positive, solution where the outcomes are, absolutely extraordinary. But more importantly, as we did our due diligence and we looked at this opportunity with this customer, it had a positive ROI. So, the customer experience isn't necessarily an expense in terms of when you look at what it costs to maintain a customer, but two, what it costs to not have an updated and amazing experience. There could be costs that are being added to that you don't realize when you transition to cloud with a company like Five9. So that's our first example. The second example is going to be, like the first one, can't use their name, but they are a large mutual insurance company, one of the most notable insurance companies in the United States. And as we were working with them, they wanted to do the same thing. They had already made some investments into Microsoft Dynamics. So their cloud, they had different elements of where they were in their cloud transformation, but they leveraged Microsoft Dynamics, Five9's workforce optimization and our overall solution, IVA solution, to add additional self-service options to their customers, integrating into their CRM platform, and more importantly, continuing with that that strong ROI in terms of moving to cloud to deliver the outcomes of first call resolution, self-service, and agent satisfaction, being able to make sure that they can maintain their workers with their workforce optimization, because gig work is a challenge, and a lot of insurance companies have people that come in and out of their day. So being able to manage and monitor that is very important for a lot of the organizations that we work with in financial services.
Yeah, Brandon, I love those two examples, particularly because a lot of these organizations, especially in the financial services industry, you mentioned it, are on legacy scenarios. And how does it grow? How does it scale? How does it take advantage of some of the new innovation to make, one, the efficiency of the customer experience? And you mentioned on both of them, self-service is such a critical thing. It's not like you're reducing agents. It's more of how do you make those existing agents more effective? And you mentioned BPO. And for those of you who aren't familiar with BPO, business process outsourcing, that is one of those things that, again, how can a customer taking advantage of it be more effective in where they're applying cost and resources to drive the best customer experience? And so I love those two examples. So with the last few minutes we have left, Brandon, unless someone has a question listening live, maybe we can have you recap a little bit about how do people learn more? So if a Microsoft employee is listening to this and they're like, oh man, I have this potential customer that is hitting these points of customer experience or agent experience, what would that look like? Partner side, we have partners that are listening to this that may want to do a partner to partner, because I know that Five9 works with a lot of partners. And then and then customers potentially watching this, potential buyer who has a call center. What are some examples and things with about 2 minutes we have left that you?
Yeah, so just to shout out to a couple of our key partners, BP or British Telecom actually went through a large procurement and evaluation process and went with Five9. So working with BT, both the 2022 and 2023 Teams Partners of the Year, NWN Carousel and AVI SPL, are amazing Five9 partners, and so many customers out there are leveraging them. They can go through their account managers, or they can reach out to Five9 directly. For the larger organizations that do need BPOs, Kyndryl is a spectacular Five9 partner, driving innovation, and also they're one of the leaders in generative AI and kind of the use cases around AI, and they're partnering that with Five9. I need to give a shout out to CDW, because that first banking example I gave was an opportunity that we did with CDW.
That's great.
So there are so many amazing partners that we are doing this with. So one, is your partner working with Five9? But if it's a company that is not traditionally working with Five9 and you do need to look into contact center and customer experience, reach out to us directly. Brian's going to give you my contact information. We have our website. There's a million different ways that you can reach out to us. And the beauty of working with Five9 is we are real people. We do reach out. Here's a little note, Brian. Most people think of the amazing customer experience, I think of places like Apple and Nordstrom. Five9, our 87 NPS score is highest in industry. So not only do we know how to deliver customer satisfaction to our customers, we bring that to our partners and their customers as well.
I love it, Brandon. Yeah, because you would hope that the drinking how rather than eating your own dog food, drinking your own champagne and having
Yes.
that as an amazing example of doing that. I love it, Brandon. So I just flashed up a couple of things. One is this is the site that actually takes organizations to Five9's listing on our marketplace or app source. The next one, I know we went through these slightly quick, but this one is the website. A lot of amazing, great content that sits in there, how you can learn more, etc. And then finally, as Brandon said, here is his email address if you have specific questions. And of course, we're all doing this on LinkedIn. And so if you have want to connect and ask a question, you could also connect with either one of us on LinkedIn and ask questions as well. So as we wrap up, Brandon, anything else to add before we wrap it up with a great video kind of to showcase again, to reinforce the innovation and the amazing capabilities that Five9 provides?
What I really want to convey is, if you have challenges, if you haven't made that digital transformation to the contact center, do reach out to us. I mean, we're going to be consultative. We're going to work with you. We're not going to try to sell you and shove things to you. We want you to actually understand what's out there. Want you to reach out. We're a very sympathetic. No, not sympathetic, but we're a very warm organization. We're easy to reach out to. Just reach out if you have questions or you want to learn how you can do more and improve your customer experiences. We are here to help you, and we're going to make that experience as joyful as possible.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Brandon and Five9. It was such a pleasure to host you once again on the first kickoff. I can't remember if I mentioned, but Five9 is the first one that we're showcasing at the start of our fiscal year. This is episodes. I was talking to Brandon earlier. This is episode 76. So we do these every Monday at 8 o'clock. Encourage everyone to follow ISV Success Live. We changed the hashtag there because of the migration. And you can look at any past episode at aka.ms/ISV Success Live to listen to the replays, not just of what we just did with Brandon and Five9, but all the other ISVs we've showcased on the show. So thanks again, Brandon, for the time. Thank you, everyone listening live or the replay, and enjoy this video of Five9. Thanks again, Brandon.
Thank you.